All right, so this afternoon I got a real kick in the booty, punch in the face, foot to the throat, whatever you want to call it. I am completely broke. I never thought that I would say that I was completely broke after getting paid 3 days ago, but I looked at my bank account and those huge bills came out, the big ones. And I got three big chunks taken out of my paycheck, and you're talking 500 plus dollar chunks out of your account. And so I went to go buy some groceries during work time. My card declined. And while I was thinking about that, I thought about what I was watching earlier today. So I don't like that Legion of Men channel. But today, while I was at the gym, I was watching it and I was thinking to myself, this guy who he was talking about, and because he was working at Walmart pushing shopping carts. And the guy's like, you shouldn't look down at the people that work 9 to 5 for minimum wage. But America does. But what this guy was saying in this video was that people may have to work 9 to 5, but everyone needs to be looking for another way of making money. It's not enough to work 9 to 5. You need to actively be looking for another way of making money. And this other way of making money isn't going to be an hourly paid job. You need to find a method, a way of escaping hourly wages. And the more that he talked about this, the more I realized that my current job should be the way that I'm paying for expenses, which it doesn't even cover anymore, daily expenses. But at the same time, it's not sustainable. Hourly work isn't sustainable anymore. The cost of living has outpaced regular work. And I'm talking about a person who thought 3 years ago that I was going to be making it. But the reality is you're not making it. And this week, this paycheck showed me the fact that I can't survive on what I make. It is impossible. I have zero cash to get me to my next paycheck. That means going to the pawn shop and getting rid of my stuff. That's really what it comes down to. Is you're like, "Oh my god. Is your paycheck buying power really that shallow?" The reality is it is. There's nothing there. Getting paid on Friday and having no money on Friday is become normal. And it's not like you can just go and earn more money at another hourly job. When you're already working in a corporate job, you're already, there's nothing left at the end of the day of a corporate job. And so now you're telling me that that same person, and these are all my coworkers. I talked to at least a dozen of them over the last couple days, and they're just looking around and wondering, it's like, when is this going to end? That's what people are thinking right now. This is not sustainable. We can't afford to work anymore. It's not no one wants to work anymore. It's we can't afford to work anymore. And today, while I was watching that video, I mean, they were talking about moving overseas to find livable economies. Not living wages, but living economies where people in that country itself, the people there are dirt poor. But you bring your American sized paycheck, regardless of how small it is, and you can afford to live in a third world country, which is something I also heard today. Is that a lot of those countries, a lot of the European countries look at America as what it is. America is a third world country for the 99%. America only exists as a first world country for the rich, because America, and I've been saying this for 10 years, maybe longer, America is just a corporation. It's a giant business where only the wealthiest people get to enjoy their lives. If you're part of the bottom percentage of society, fun, enjoyment, rest, not thinking about losing your job, those aren't for you. You have nothing to hold on to. Losing my entire paycheck to bills on the day that I get paid in the middle of the month and having to figure out how I'm going to scrape by until I get paid again on the 27th. Jesus Christ, man. I don't know how Americans haven't just absolutely revolted against the system that is hell bent on making certain that no one has anything. And tomorrow, while I'm standing at that pawn shop selling everything that I own that I can get rid of, it's going to be a sad day in my life tomorrow. A really, really sad day. So let's look at the script that ChatGPT put together. So, do you ever feel like you're working harder than ever, but somehow getting poorer? Like your life's one long episode of survival mode. You clock in, you clock out, and the paycheck you thought would stretch for 2 weeks is gone on day one. I checked my bank account today, and you know what it said? Insufficient funds. Isn't it funny? I work full time. I do everything I'm supposed to, and I'm still sitting here debating whether I should sell my laptop or my phone just to make it another few days. They keep saying no one wants to work anymore, but here's the truth. We can't afford to work anymore. The cost of everything has exploded. Rent, food, gas, wages haven't caught up. And let me ask you, what's the point of breaking your back at a job just to end up in the same place? Broke and broken. They don't want to hear this, but working hard doesn't guarantee anything anymore. It's not laziness, it's not entitlement, it's math. We're being priced out of life itself. The craziest part, they tell us to just work harder. Work harder for what? So I can keep treading water while inflation drowns me anyway? Maybe you're feeling this too. Maybe you're stuck in a job that pays just enough to keep you alive, but not enough to let you live. And that's not work. That's a modern day poverty in disguise. The next time you hear someone say, no one wants to work anymore, remind them, some of us just can't afford to keep going. It's not just us who failed, it's the system. That's the problem. This system is designed to make certain that the people who cannot extract additional resources from the environment, basically anyone who can't make more money using the internet right now is going to get left behind. Because I'm starting to feel that myself. I'm starting to feel left behind at this point because no matter how much you try, the amount of money that they're willing to pay out, the lack of willingness to cooperate with the people that generate their vast incomes, the limited wages that the corporations are willing to put out are not sufficient to sustain their workers anymore. The limited wages are enough for their workers to show up in a terrible, angry, vicious mood to work. You talk to people at work and they're not in a good mood. Most people are looking around to even steal what they can from their own employers. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened? Loyalty to your job used to be a thing. Not anymore. People are getting screwed over, and corporations are like, well, if we can't retain anyone. That's a big problem in America. Is the retention rates are awful because people are looking for the easiest possible way of making the same amount of money. If you're going to be broke, why should you have to work hard to be broke? Because that's what corporations want. They want you to work hard as they want to push you with ridiculous metrics, and then they don't want to pay you. And that's their way of making certain that they have a constant influx of workers who are not interested in their jobs in any conceivable way. You have workers that show up to work that just want to collect a paycheck. And you know what every rich guy hates about workers? They hate workers that show up just to get a paycheck. They don't want those people around. They want those people, they want to sniff them out of every corporation and get rid of them as fast as they can. Because the last thing they want is someone that's there to do the bare minimum. That shows up, doesn't like their job, doesn't like their coworkers, doesn't like the corporation, but they keep showing up because of one simple thing. They need money. And yet the worst thing you can say in a job interview right now, or at any point, why do you want to work here? Because I need money. That's an instant red flag to that employer. Oh, you just need money. Well, we don't want people like you working here. We want people that are interested, that are invested, people who come to work and want to make the workplace a better place, not people who show up just for a paycheck. Those are the exact people we want to keep out of the workplace. And you know what that means? It means that people are not are not interested in outwardly, right? Because a lot of the things that I'm saying are things you're only allowed to think. You cannot express your thoughts in the workplace because an employee who does is ungrateful for having regular employment while simultaneously being constantly afraid that you're going to be laid off or fired randomly. I mean, yesterday I saw a termination come in at work and I'm like, I even wrote back my boss and I'm like, dude, that was vicious. They literally canned a person a week before Christmas on performance. And you're like, we can't afford to work this way anymore. And saying that nobody wants to work anymore is a cop out for saying limited wages aren't attracting any workers anymore.